Hey guys, Society Reviews here with my top 10 worst films of 2024. Another year and another lineup of the year's most abysmal film releases that Hollywood has to offer. 2024 was another year that the establishment Hollywood system took aim at the Western world by promoting projects full of degeneracy, blasphemy, and of course Black Lives Matter racial division. When Hollywood movies are bad, they are really bad. And that downward trend is not getting better, it's getting much worse. This year saw the release of a handful of bad movies that absolutely no one wanted to watch, and one of the films on this list just may be considered one of the worst movies ever made. But let's start off our list with number 10, Joker 2. I sincerely hope that you guys watching this right now don't hate yourself as much as Todd Phillips and the creative minds behind Joker hate the character that they brought to life. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. Joker 2 was a deliberate punishment to the fans who made the first Joker movie a billion-dollar hit. Because the hyper-progressive Hollywood system hated the fact that in their eyes, the film and its success were propped up by an unknown white male who's known for chaos and destruction and is viewed as being an aspirational hero, the sequel to this movie is of course a course correct to rebuke the viewers for making the first one a success. Lady Gaga serves no purpose being in the movie and further exists to tear down the character. Joker 2 systematically rapes and kills the character in front of the audience as a means to tell him that he's dead now, he's no longer your hero. Joker 2 isn't just a bad movie, it's a movie that is outright hostile to its fan base. Number 9 on this list is Madam Web. Let's be very clear, if Sony didn't own the rights to Spider-Man, there'd be a lot of executives working there who'd be flipping burgers at Jack in the Box right now. Madam Web is one of the most Bush League superhero films of all time. The first 5 minutes of the film tells you everything that you need to know about it. The acting is so bad, it's almost as if the editors accidentally put in the wrong takes for the movie and never corrected their mistake. The dialogue for the film is abysmal. Early on, Dakota Johnson and Adam Scott are driving in an ambulance with a woman who's actively dying, and both actors are treating the situation with the severity of an episode of Seinfeld. All you are left with is a film that is so bad that people are going to be giving handwritten apologies to Morbius for all the memes they created over the last 2 years. Number 8 on this list is My Old Ass. Modern audiences, despite being pandered to the most, do not care about LGBTQ-centered love stories, which is why multiple films and television shows find themselves flopping time and time again. The bad news is that anyone who happens to be duped into watching this movie will likely find themselves with an intense battle of attrition within the first 10 minutes of this pseudo coming-to-age story that only an industry as degenerate as Hollywood could find as relatable. My Old Ass is a film about a girl fighting her desire to become a heterosexual. That may seem too dismissive, but that's all the film truly has to offer. The film has the writing of a Hallmark movie with the quality of a Tubi exclusive. Ellie is a foul-mouthed girl who does hardcore drugs with her friends and has a worldview that revolves around social justice. And occasionally she makes time to have sex with her girlfriend in public places. This is the type of behavior that Hollywood thinks your typical everyday American teenage girl actually partakes in. The film is a cinematic overdose of liberal coping that tries to come back in the final act of the film with a heartwarming message about our protagonist by turning her into a normal human being. My Old Ass is a film that exists solely to increase Amazon's studio index when ranking how much LGBTQ representation they've had in the year 2024. Number 7 on this list is Monkey Man. After an assassination attempt goes wrong, a kid is on the run from everyone in the city, and his only hope for survival is a small group of indigenous transgender warriors who nurse him back to help so he can fight the final fight? What? Yeah, you heard that correctly. Just like Jordan Peele, Dev Patel uses this film in a very generic way to give a platform to more social issues of society. In this case, Patel focuses on the country of India, where the caste system remains in play, and the country is accused of mass discrimination against Muslims and transgender people. Once again, we have another bait and switch that teases you with the idea of a super cool bloody action movie while waterboarding you with social justice. Monkey Man is the equivalent of a choose-your-own adventure set in India, where you pick the absolute worst possible adventure to go on. Unless you care about monkey demons and international transgender communities, this film has nothing to offer you. Number 6 on this list is Borderlands. When a movie is in developmental hell for a decade and a half, sometimes it's better to cut your losses rather than save face and continue with a movie that can only be described as a cinematic tsunami. It doesn't take much to realize that studio executives greenlit this project when they somehow thought they were going to make money by profiting off of a popular video game franchise from 15 years ago. Borderlands is a movie that doesn't feel authentic for 1 second of its runtime. The movie comes off as a bunch of A-list Hollywood celebrities cosplaying at Comic-Con about a video game franchise they know less than little about. With the exception of Sonic the Hedgehog, video games in Hollywood does not produce a positive outcome. Borderlands is yet another example of how these two mediums cannot coexist with one another. If you're a fan of the franchise, you're better off dusting off your old PS3 and playing the original game for a few hours rather than wasting your money and time to go see this soulless Hollywood effort masquerading as a summer Hollywood blockbuster. Number 5 on this list is Drive-Away Dolls. Ethan Coen decided to write, direct, and produce a movie with his wife, who's also a lesbian, make that make sense, about two lesbians going down to Florida to get laid. Yeah, that's the plot of the movie. The film stars two lesbians barking on a road trip to Tallahassee so they can get laid, but that's the whole film. For those who think that I'm being short with the movie, the film does not have a plot. The film is only 84 minutes long, and 20 minutes is spent on a nonsensical psychedelic flashback starring Miley Cyrus of all people. Margaret Qualley plays a spunky lesbian woman with a southern accent that borders on foghorn leghorn in terms of believability. Geraldine Vossanaden is a cardboard cutout of a neurotic lesbian woman who has no personality, and her character showcases exactly why Hollywood believes that sexual orientation is a substitute for charisma and personality. Drive-Away Dolls is the type of movie that elevates other terrible movies, because at least with other terrible movies, they do the bare minimum of attempting to have a plot, which this film does not have. Next time, Ethan Coen should try crafting a more successful conclusion to his failing marriage rather than co-writing an abomination of a movie that he expects audiences to consume. Number 4 on this list is Babes. You know it's a bad year when a movie like Babes is only number 4. The current state of comedy in Hollywood is the equivalent of a rotten corpse that is found 4 months after its death. Babes is a film that is only relatable to the lowest common denominator of liberal feminist society. This is the best way to sum up this film. Glazer creates a world where she is in a pseudo-queer relationship with her best friend in New York City, where everyone is steeped in progressive mindset and ideology, and she gets assistance from her female best friend to raise her biracial child. Babes is a movie that is so bad that if there are 3 or 5 movies that are actually worse than this movie this year, that means that Hollywood is, as the kids like to say, totally cooked. And well, it's number 4. Number 3 is the American Society of Magical Negroes. The Magical Negro is a supporting black character who usually comes to the aid of a white protagonist in a movie. The term was crafted by the notorious race hustler Spike Lee, who was bothered by the on-screen race relations between blacks and whites in modern movies. This is the premise of the American Society of Magical Negroes. The film stars Justice Smith as your textbook definition of a beta male. Aaron is so good at being a walking doormat to anyone who's in a 5-foot radius of him. He is recruited by a man named Roger to become a member of the Magical Society of Negroes. The American Society of Magical Negroes is probably one of the most racist films to come out in the last several years. Still, its biggest sin is being one of the most boring films that has come out in the last several years, with one of the worst actors in Hollywood given the responsibility of leading this disaster. Magical Negroes is a film that takes a poorly disguised hatred and racism of another race in the realm of comedy, thinking they can fall back on calling this movie satire wherever they're called out on spreading racial division. However, without racial division between blacks and whites, this story has absolutely nothing to offer and nothing to tell. There's no chemistry between the two leads in this film, and no one believes for a second that Justice Smith is heterosexual, let alone can play one on screen. The American Society of Magical Negroes is a soulless charisma vacuum of a film that has nothing but hate in its heart. Number 2 on this list is the Book of Clarence. Before being accused of raping a teenage girl 25 years ago, rapper Jay-Z teamed up with the Harder They Fall director James Samuel for a project that looked every bit as racially divisive as it was blasphemous. Most of the people watching this have probably never heard of the 5% Nation or the Nation of Islam. The name Clarence comes from the founder of the 5% Nation, who was a cult leader in Harlem who taught poor black people that the black man is God and that the white man is the devil. As a result, the Book of Clarence is set in an alternate version of 33 AD Jerusalem, where the overwhelming majority of the nation is black. The film is centered around a weed-smoking drug dealer and scammer named Clarence, who is in the presence of a figure known as Jesus Christ, who is also black. But instead of being humble, Clarence grows jealous of Jesus and decides to scam people into believing that he is the true Messiah, so that people end up giving him money so he can buy his way out of his troubles. The Book of Clarence is a blasphemous film that holds nothing but contempt for the believers of Christ. The film tells its audience that Christianity has been corrupted by white people and goes into full-fledged blasphemy by tearing down the quote-unquote white Jesus and replacing him with Clarence, to the point that it denies the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, also known as the spirit of Antichrist from the Bible. The Book of Clarence is a film that's going to be applauded by people who hate God and hate white people. That should tell you everything you need to know about this film and who it's pandering to. And the number one movie on our worst list is I Saw the TV Glow. The worst film of 2024 is a movie that I struggle with even calling a movie. Justice Smith is back as the worst actor working in Hollywood today. And even before the actor officially came out as gay, his success as screaming and crying in movies such as Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom already put him on the list as one of the least favorable actors working in the business. Justin gets the honor of being in 2 of the 3 worst movies of the year with I Saw the TV Glow, and if you don't know anything about this film, the writer and director is a trans man, so it should not be a shock to anyone to discover this film is actually an allegory for trans people. I Saw the TV Glow is not a movie. There's no plot, there's no story, there's no dialogue. You're presented with 2 protagonists who barely meet the minimum qualifications of being a character, and then you mix in the plot where you're left with a film that gives you 100 minutes of asking yourself, why did I watch this movie and what the hell did I actually watch? The 2 lead actors in this movie are real-life gay actors who don't even pretend for a single second to have any kind of chemistry romantically with one another, or even the baseline of a platonic relationship. Understanding the context that this film is an allegory to a man's transition into becoming a woman, quote unquote, the only thing left to say by the time that Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit arrives in this movie is who the hell wrote this bullshit. I Saw the TV Glow is one of the most boring films that have ever been crafted by the brain of a human being or has ever come out of the depths of hell, whichever you prefer. There is more excitement in being the victim of a drive-by shooting than there is trying to sit through 2 hours of mind-numbing attempt at someone's story who needs either Jesus or therapy or a combination of both.